Good evening. Some independent candidates plan to use the coming local government elections as a springboard to challenge for the highest office in the land in 2024. This after local communities expressed that big party cadre deployments at municipalities have failed to deliver the promise of a better life for all. Senior reporter Matze Pienaar and Thabo Mtsweni compiled this report.
This unfinished police station in Siabe at the Dr. J.S. Moroka municipality has cost taxpayers millions. It's the perfect example of service delivery being hindered by alleged corruption. Policing, healthcare facilities and proper shopping complexes are a luxury for Siabe residents.
We don't have clinics, we don't have schools and even toilets. Even our elderly get their pension payout from a distance.
Former DA leader turned One South Africa movement chief activist believes the key to fixing the current state of affairs lies in giving independent candidates a chance come November 1st.
Our politics is rotten to a point where it's time now for the community, because the struggle requires glory. The people must govern. The people must be in charge.
While there were over 800 independent candidates contesting the previous local government elections in 2016, this time more than 900 have tossed their names into the hat, believing they will be more successful at rendering services to communities if elected to be local councillors.
We have RDPs that are standing for more than 4 years, uncompleted, and no one accounts. People would be issued with RDP houses on paper, but in reality, they don't exist. Those are some of the challenges that we are grappling with.
As I am sent by the community, which is something completely different from what we are used to other political parties. In our movement, the difference is in the Republic Conference, it's you are a short caller. You send me, so I must come back and report to you.
We've been putting our votes in the wrong people, because some of them are not even staying within the very same wards they are contesting. So now I think this has started to show people that you actually need to vote for someone. If you need solutions, you need to vote for someone who's there with you on the ground.
In May 2019, the ANC led by President Cyril Ramaphosa won the national elections with a 57.50% of the vote. With only a week left before we cast our ballots in the all-important elections, independents hope to use this year's local government elections as a springboard to aim even higher in 2024. Matze Pienaar, SABC News, Siabe.
Let's cross then to that discussion. My colleague Francis Hurd is standing by. Very good afternoon to you, Francis, and over to you.
Radio Park at the SABC. It's great to have you with us. And tonight we're bringing you a special broadcast and we're asking, could 2021 be the year for the small political parties and the independent candidates?
There is an unprecedented number of political parties contesting the polls on November the 1st. And many of them have actually been formed in the last few months saying, let's get involved because the big established parties are just not cutting it. So more than 320 political parties, that has never been seen before. And over and above that, there's a record number of independent candidates, more than 1,500 according to the latest IEC list that we have, which means since the last election, the number of independent candidates has more than doubled. Now, you'll remember that 2016, the last local government elections, were very interesting because they changed the political landscape and we saw the rise of coalition politics. And because of the proliferation of these smaller players, the smaller parties, the independents, we could have some of these lone candidates here tonight even becoming kingmakers or becoming mayor makers in some of the councils when no clear winner emerges. So we will introduce you to the Sacro Party that says it can weed out corruption. We have a former soccer star here. We have religious leaders who say they feel compelled to get involved in the political scene and much more. So welcome to it and welcome to our councillor candidates. Let's get to it. And as I told you just before we got to this broadcast, you're each going to have 3 minutes to answer a question. I will cut you off after 3 minutes to make it very fair. We have a lot of you joining us us tonight. I'm going to give you the question and then I'll do a quick introduction and we'll start with our first candidate. So the question is, what do you have to offer that the big parties cannot offer? Or in a nutshell, why should people vote for you? In 3 minutes. Let me introduce our first candidate, party candidate for the Sacro Party, a mayoral candidate for Cape Town, Eben Jansen, a broadcast journalist, actually a former colleague, and now a cannabis farmer. The Sacro Party has been around for a while, but often doesn't actually land up on the ballot paper. Now it will be there. It describes itself as a party that promotes the legalization of cannabis for poverty alleviation and believes municipalities should also self-regulate COVID-19 and things like that. All right, Eben, your 3 minutes starts now.
Thank you, Francis. Good afternoon, good evening to our viewers, and I think on behalf of all of us here, would like to say thank you to the SABC for looking after the little guy. As you know, the media landscape is a little bit difficult out there for us, so we're happy to be here, and thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity and platform. I'll start my 3 minutes now. Thank you. What can we do? Well, we can do a lot, because not a lot is being done. The truth is, Francis, that the Sacro Party, we believe that it's time to unleash cannabis, unleash it onto our economy and allow it to resuscitate a flailing beast that's been in reverse gear now through COVID for a couple of years and suppressed and repressed before that. We have a plan that's built on a variety of pillars. It's called Green Gold. The name of the plan, we call it Green Gold because we believe a similar effect to gold, cannabis can have that in our economy. Firstly, the first pillar of that plan is in the agriculture sector. As you know, we have one of the most advanced agriculture sectors on the planet here in Southern Africa. And cannabis, very much like what happened with tobacco plant in Zimbabwe in the 60s and 70s, that really turned that country into an economic powerhouse, but also the breadbasket, as they called it then, of Africa. We believe cannabis has the power to do that. We have the technology to do it here in South Africa. We have the most advanced farming techniques and a lot of experience to do that. So for me, I think agriculture is the first pillar, and green gold is really something that we can export to the world and really drive an economic boom around the plant, much like we've seen in Zimbabwe in the 60s and 70s. That's the first pillar. The second one is tourism. I think South Africa has a tourism economy, and cannabis is something that can turn every tourist dollar into 2 tourist dollars here in South Africa. I think cannabis has that power. I think when we talk about tourism, it's really endless applications for cannabis, from medical tourism all the way to the revelers that will be in Long Street in Cape Town in a couple of months' time. So tourism is another pillar of our economic plan. Then we talk retail, and that's the bit that excites me. You know, it's about taking cannabis into the mainstream. As we see in other mature democracies around the world, cannabis is really making a significant impact all around the world.
Time's up. Thank you very much. I'm sorry I didn't give you the 30 seconds warning. We will try and do that next time. But you got bonus points. Thank you very much, Eben Jansen, for commenting on the SABC as well. All right, Mr. Khadebe, Jonas Khadebe, an independent candidate, but you are aligned to the Community Solidarity Association. That is a civic movement looking really at the Vaal municipalities in the Sedibeng district in southern Gauteng, contesting several wards. And of course, part of your area is Mfuleni, which is widely considered to be this broken municipality. We've seen the wastewater plants not working, the raw sewage gushing into the Vaal River, even into people's homes, the Human Rights Commission concerned. What can you offer that the big parties can't? Why should we vote for you? Your 3 minutes begins now.
Okay. Thanks, Francis. Let me take this opportunity to also thank the SABC to give us this opportunity to present ourselves. Let me greet the viewers at home and the fellow panelists. Like you have correctly said, Francis, I'm coming from the municipality that is a disgrace to be part of that municipality, a very broken municipality. It is a category B municipality in South Africa. We're having plus minus 280 municipalities in the whole country. It is the first biggest municipality after the metros. Emfuleni municipality, it is the only municipality in the whole country that owes Eskom more than any other municipality, that owes rainwater more than any other municipality. So what does that mean? It simply means that we are coming from a municipality that does not have leadership. For the past 27 years, we have actually seen a decline in all aspects of life. So what we are offering as the Community Solidarity Association, it is to repair not only infrastructure, the souls and hearts of people of Emfuleni are also broken. That needs to be repaired. We are the hope of those that have lost hope in the bigger political parties. We are known now as the capital city of potholes. In the previous years, long before the dawn of democracy in this country, where we are coming from, Emfuleni, it was known as the Val Triangle. It was the economic backbone of the then PWV area, which is now Gauteng. But if you look at 5 regions of Gauteng, Emfuleni, it is the poorest of all these 5 regions that we are having in Gauteng.
1 minute.
Emfuleni, it is always one municipality that when it is supposed to be measured by all the institutions that are measuring the municipalities, they'll always find that this municipality, it is not best run. We're having the mayors that would not know what is it that they are doing. We're having the MMCs. We're having the members of the mayoral committees. I'll just cite one simple example, the MMC of health. They're just getting money for absolutely doing nothing. So what we are offering as community solidarity, like I've said earlier on, it is to bring services to the people. One of the most important things, the local government, it is actually a sphere of government that is made up of 3 legs.
Jonas, you are finished with your time. Thank you very much for that full explanation. Let's move to Bishop Vincent Jones, party candidate, New Horizon Movement. You're the president of the party, also the mayoral candidate for Gauteng, for Johannesburg, am I correct?
And Emfuleni.
And Emfuleni. And of course, you also cover this broken municipality of Emfuleni. And the New Horizon Movement launched this year, although it's been around for a while. Tell me in 3 minutes, why should people get your vote?
Thank you, Francis, my fellow panelists, the audience and the viewers at home. New Horizon Movement wants to offer the people of Emfuleni a non-political administration. Number 2, a professional administration. Thirdly, a clean administration. 1, non-political. We have seen how broken politics is. Emfuleni, where it is today, it is as a result of a broken political system in South Africa. And politics is about power. It's not about influence. Politics, it's about convenience. It's not about principle. You go to Emfuleni today, it is the most convenient time to tar the roads. It is the most convenient time to try and clean the streets. That's what politics does. And that's why we are saying, for us to get local government right, we need to depoliticize local government. And it is important that we start from local level and go upwards. And it is my wish that by the time we come to 2025 elections, South Africa would be having at least half of the municipalities non-political. And we also need to professionalize. No cadre deployment. We have seen what that has done. And we are saying, let's professionalize. Let's put right people in right places. To be a treasurer of a branch who collects 10 rands does not qualify you to be a CFO who runs a 6 billion budget. It doesn't. We need qualified people. For us to get the infrastructure right, the electrical infrastructure, sewer infrastructure, we need an engineer. And for us us, we are not just sweet talking voters, but we are saying in our own PR list, already we have 2 engineers, Francis. Luckily, we did not have to go to Cuba. We got them right in Mfuleni, you know. We have a lecturer in finance management who is going to be in the finance when New Horizon takes over. So we are saying
30 seconds.
It is important that we professionalize and we clean local government. 2 things politicians can't do: they can't implement and they can't investigate themselves. So New Horizon, we're not politicians, we're a movement, and we are going to implement for the benefit of the people of Mfuleni.
Perfect timing. Thank you very much, Bishop. All right, our next candidate, Nhongo Solo, who's an independent candidate linked to the Abacha Force of Change, which is a youth organization. I did confirm with her that she's only 29. I was still 29. To me, that's very young. Ms. Solo. Contesting Ward 82, including Tsakane in the city of Ekurhuleni. And of course, you were actually involved in the push for the elections to be held now and not next year. All right, in 3 minutes, what can you offer that the big parties don't? Why should we vote for you?
Thank you so much. Greetings to you and the listeners and the viewers at home. I think it's important for me to highlight that the biggest mistakes that media does is always to link me with Abacha Force of Change. Yes, I'm the co-founder and the managing director of the organization. However, the organization is not part of the elections. Sure. So I'm completely an independent candidate. And that's the first unique thing that we are bringing to the voters for the first time, that as they receive their ballot paper, they will not only be seeing a young person, but a human being. So we're allowing voters to vote for people that they see instead of voting for party logos, which has always been a problem. So we're offering direct voting, which also accompanies with direct accountability. So the community is directly accountable to me, I'm directly accountable to the community, because people continuously ask, so who are you going to be accountable to? To the community. Which one is more valuable, for me to account to the branch structure that only has 10 people, or to account to the community that has about 16,000 community members? Of course, direct accountability is much more better. But it's most importantly is to take away the mediocre of service delivery that has been happening. So we need to bring proper quality service delivery. We need to restore and reunite our communities. And for the first time, we are saying to community members, vote for an independent candidate that does not belong to a political party. So for once, we are voting beyond our political regalia, beyond our political color, and we are voting for a community member who will then address the issues that we have. Firstly, it's important to address education as the fundamental liberator. For years, none of the political parties speak of education as the fundamental liberator. And that is why even when you give people land, they put checks, because they don't understand the value of land through education. So it's important that we deal with that. We unite with schools. I think it's important to emphasize that education cannot be a national issue when charity begins at home, when schools belong to communities. So it's important that we offer free Wi-Fi in our ward so that everyone has access to education, because we understand that schooling system is not the only way to educate yourself. But also, libraries are important for us to build them, but also to ensure that they are open on time and they close on time. Why do we want to open a library that opens at 9 when kids are at school and it closes at 4 when they're only coming back? But most importantly, we must ensure that we have proper infrastructures at schools. In public schools, the schools are overpopulated. The schools' population are not in correlation with the toilets, and the schools have mobile classes that are not conducive for teaching and learning. So it's important that we also deal with those issues. But most importantly, we must have incubation centers for skills development and entrepreneurship.
All right, thank you very much, Nhongo Solo. Nosipo Kuta Manaka, our next candidate, independent candidate in Soweto. She's a candidate for Ward 46. That includes Jabulani and Zondo, if I'm correct. And a group of ANC members said that the party's candidate was not qualified. In fact, he's barred from schools. He has an assault case. So your nomination came out of that process. You say you stand for being a voice and ears for the community. In 3 minutes, what can you do that maybe your own party can't do? Why should we get your vote?
Thank you, Francis, and good evening, viewers at home. And after all the dilly-dally that we had with the previous elections, the community came up and said, we need you to come and be our candidate to be our councillor. And for having done things for the community, like you know, they have faith in you, and you interact with the community. It's a number one thing, because now our big organizations, they forget about their voters after they've got the vote. You know, why should they vote for me is that I'm passionate with the growing of a child. You know, child has to grow physically, mentally, and otherwise. Our kids, they focus strictly on the gadget from school, and they don't have time to play. They can't play. You give them any game to play, they can't. And now we have Safe Hub. It's in Jabane Flats, and I've linked it with another NGO, Happy D, because they have an aftercare for kids from school, and they're serving those kids, 350 kids daily, every day they feed them. And it's not about that only. They have to teach them how to play. They have to teach them, they help them with homework as well. And so we have this thing to say a child has to play against drugs. So child must choose playing than choosing drugs or anything distraction that will force them to do things, wrong things. But now, you know, when I talk of education for kids, it's a broader thing. With the team that I'm working with, is we're able to restructure a school, a normal public school in Soweto, but to a Model C. It's a Kolwane, it's in Jabulane. And, you know, that, yes, and now another thing that we're looking at is to link the three communities, which is Zola, Jabulane, and Zondi, because now we've been discriminated. Zondi is known as a boring community, Zola is a no-going area, and Jabulane is where things are happening. But we want to bring this link between these three communities.
All right, Ms. Sipho, thank you very much. Your time is up. David Murray next, independent candidate for Ward 117, which includes areas in Johannesburg like Parkhurst, Dunkeld, and Blegauri in the north. He's a businessman who worked for multinational companies. You say you're a former whistleblower, so you know what it's like to fight corruption. Wants to be part of a movement of independents who will owe their positions to voters rather than a national party. In 3 minutes, why should we vote for you? What can you offer that the established parties don't?
Thank you. I think we've heard a few of the speakers already mention the need for direct representation of the voters once by the elected officials. For many years now, we've not had direct election of our elected officials. We've had a system of proportional representation where our candidates are foisted on us by the party structure, and where at grassroots we have very little influence over the process. So what we're looking for is, in the independence movement, that councillors can do what voters want and represent the needs that voters want, and speak about the bread and butter issues at local government level that are important to the people in our constituencies. You know, I said to my wife, I don't think I'll be able to solve the problems in Israel. No one else has. But I can certainly do something about the problems that we face on the ground, such as the garbage collection. Why is garbage collection getting worse and more expensive when the homes are producing less garbage as houses are spending less money on consumer goods, and yet despite the fact that there's less load on the city council, the service is getting worse. This doesn't make sense. So when it comes to the inefficiency that's crept into our system, through electing independent councillors, people will be able to press their elected officials to represent their needs and to speak on their behalf, and not to have to obey what is the party policy. When it came to the pick it up constituency decisions last year with Johannesburg City Council, we then found out afterwards that there'd been a sort of a negotiation of major allegiance politics that determined the outcome of the pick it up tender. I think that's wrong. the councillors should be voting on their conscience on any such tenders, rather than voting according to what is wanted by head office in Pretoria or Cape Town or wherever head office happens to be. Head office cannot run our lives. We've got to take control of our lives at grassroots and serve our own interests first and stabilize our own communities. Thank you.
All right, you can have that early finish. Thank you very much, David Murray. Let's move to Chief Stephen Katz, party candidate for the South African Royal Kingdom Organisation, or SACRO. And of course, you've been part of a group, the SA Progressive Civic Organisation, that for years has demanded recognition for the Khoisan as the first indigenous nation in South Africa. And it's also about land claims being addressed. All right, Chief, in 3 minutes, why should we vote for you?
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Yes, just a snippet. South African Royal Kingdom Organisation has coupled with IDR, which is Indigenous Democratic Revolution. Now, these are Khoisan parties. Now, there is a myth for the last 27 years. And I like what you said earlier, what can we smaller parties do that bigger parties can do? The bigger parties has dismally failed us. Absolutely. That's why today we as Khoisan are marginalized, not recognized, and disenfranchised. We have nothing. You come into my areas and we have an issue of housing, dramatic issue of housing. We have no sporting facilities. We have absolutely sewage are running. It's a mess what's happening, you know. And everything is just not the drug peddling. Gangsterism in my areas. So to me as a Khoisan, I think we have been forgotten about. And coming into the fray of political space is to come and tell the people and notify them that we have been lied to for the last 27 years. That's why our country is in the state that it is. And coming back locally, we are trying to sort out these issues. Now, if you go and look into my profile, you will see that I was the one who delivered the memorandum to Minister Quinty in 2011 for our land, where I was accompanied by every forum. I've also visited Lutuli House. In other words, I've done everything that a person can do for us to be. We are sitting with council stock that's over 50 years old, houses, where 4 or 5 generations are living in, and it's dilapidated. Right now in my possession, I have a document of 2019 where 50 million was given for repairs to these people, and this 50 million was shelved.
30 seconds.
I have it. So what I'm saying to you, that is the other issue that when we go into the fray, looking at is the state of corruption that is happening under current. So what I'm saying that we come into here as Khoisan to notify the community that we are alive, that we are indigenous, and that we are the owners of this land. And it's time that we forget about these big political parties and start doing things for ourselves. Because it's only the mother and the father. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next, Reverend Chris Matebula, party candidate for the Independent Citizen Movement, mayoral candidate for Ekurhuleni. The Independent Citizen Movement, I understand, founded on religious principles with leader Joe Mojapelo, but open to all. You are with ministries, the Hope Restoration Ministries in Kempton Park, and this is about an apolitical, patriotic movement. Tell us in 3 minutes what you can do that the big parties cannot.
Thank you, Francis. You know, for too long, for 27 years, we've been sitting in this bus hoping that a drunk driver will take us into our destination, who is drunk by corruption, and selfish ambitions. For years, we have been told that we need to stick to our lane and they will do work for us. And then we had to formulate this organization, ACM, which simply means Independent Citizen Movement. We are citizens. We are not politicians. The difference is politicians, they always come alive when they seek votes. Citizens, they always think about the next generation. For years, we have been robbed, and been put aside as citizens. We came in, we said, you know what? We are sick and tired. Enough, it is enough as citizens. We want to rebuild, our nation and for the sake of the next generation. So number one, as ICM, why you need to vote for us, it is because we want to give power back to the people. We want people to take responsibility. You look at our team of professionals and leaders, religious leaders. These are the people already who have been doing something from the community. We have not elected them. They did not mushroom because now there are elections. These are the people who have been doing some work already in the community. They are known by the people in the community. That is the first thing. So we want to say to them, we want to give these people power, to them so that they can continue to make the difference, into the lives of the people. Second thing why you need to vote for us is that we are bringing an ethical leadership here. Our track record speaks for itself. We are not coming from nowhere where we cannot prove what is it that we have done. How do you define leadership? By taking somebody from nowhere they have never conquered in their private space, but they want to conquer the big space. We are saying our track record speaks for itself. We have done great things in our backyard. We have built schools. We have motivated people. We have built our community. And so that's why we are saying, vote for us. And number three, we want to give service delivery. Our people, Eguruleni, they are not even demanding a lot of things. They are asking us to cut the grass. A mere thing, just cut the grass. The problem of littering. Papers are all over. The drains, water, it is all over. Yet you pay taxes every day. And there are people who are supposed to do this, but all that they do, they come driving big cars in these townships and not improving the lives of the people. So as ICM, we are saying enough, it is enough. We're not going to trust anybody on top. Now it is the time to lead from bottom up, because that type of a leadership, you can trust it and it can make a difference. Now it is the time. Voga.
Reverend Chris, thank you very much. All right, next, Jonathan Bayers, party candidate for the Organic Humanity Movement, mayoral candidate for Mogale City. The Organic Humanity Movement says it has a vision of liberation for South Africa and everyone in it. It wants to empower citizens and encourage self-reliance so people can solve problems without the help of the government or without being dependent on the economic system. In 3 minutes, what do you have that the big players don't have? Why should we vote for you?
Thank you, Francis. Thank you, fellow opponents. Now, the Organic Humanity Movement, it names says it all. We are about humanity at its core. It's about being mensch. It's about having the sensitivity to understand that liberty and freedom informs who we are, what we are, and where we're going to. Why should you vote for the Organic Humanity Movement? Because it's very simple. We need to take away together as a country. We need to take together, be together, and take away the abusive, centralized power of foreign influence in terms of the globalist 1% elite. All of the descriptions here are symptomatic of power relations that favors international organizations and more specifically the United Nations. If you look at a very simple plan that government has, the Integrated Development Plan, it mirrors the United Nations Agenda 21 and their sustainable development framework. Unacceptable. Now, what we also want to do is we want to take back the power of the sovereignty of our country, give back and restore the autonomy and decision-making capability and capacity of leadership, and of most importance is to take back the self-sovereignty of the people, the citizen, the ordinary man in the street. We should not be subjects and objects of the state nor of capital. We've got to take it back. It is critical. And then, of most importance is taking the power back to rewrite our constitution, a constitution that will represent the interest of the citizens and put back the power into our communities so that we are less reliant on the state for survival instead of thriving, and less dependent on capital for jobs.
30 seconds. You can carry on for 30 seconds.
10 seconds.
30, you've got 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
Now 20.
20, okay, thank you, Francis. And then in the final analysis of the business of rewriting the business, but also it is more than just business. It is more than just about profiteering. We are not just revenue streams for profits and for offshore portfolios. Unacceptable.
Thank you very much for that. All right, to your right, we have Matze Pienaar, independent candidate for Ward 96 in Johannesburg in the Dainfern area, all the way up to Lanseria. We were talking before, Dainfern, this affluent area, but there's a huge amount of informal settlements in your ward. In 3 minutes, what can you do that the big players can't?
Thank you, Francis, and good evening to the viewers. First of all, I'm a resident of Ward 96. I'm not imported, I'm not imposed. I live there and inevitably have a deeply vested interest in the development, the well-being of my community and what becomes of it. As you've correctly said, I am in a ward that in so many ways is actually a microcosm of so many of the socio-economic complexes and contradictions of our country and our city. You have in this one ward wealth, some would even say extreme wealth, with suburbs that, like the likes of Dainfern, as you mentioned, Steyn City, and others towards Lanseria, and potentially the highest number of informal settlements in one ward in the city of Johannesburg. It is time that as South Africans, as citizens, we begin to reimagine and understand what democracy is and what it means. And part of my campaign is to try and contribute to that broader development. It is no coincidence that in these elections there are so many registered independent candidates and independent associations and movements, because the reality is the winds of change are blowing. The wheels of change are churning fast. People are frustrated. People have had enough. I cannot sit where I am situated in privilege in that same ward, driving past all these informal settlements every day, having read for years in the IDP of the city of Johannesburg that they have qualified for RDP houses for one. It's a DA ward currently. The people who probably would have voted for the governing party would have cried out over the years, why aren't you doing something? Why is development not coming our way? Why are services not coming our way? The response they would have gotten is, this is a DA ward. We can't give the DA points. So politics trumps service. It is time that as the people we regain an understanding of what the people shall govern means, not the political party. One of the major mistakes we made at the point of our liberation as the sovereigns of this country is to cede our power. We handed it over rather than holding on to the other end of the baton as citizens to move along in our own development with those that we entrust to represent us and to hold them accountable. Party politics, unfortunately, because of its interest, will filter our interests. It will always, by and large, as somebody mentioned, politics is about power. And by and large, party politics will serve its own interests and its own power. As an independent candidate, I can run and advocate for the needs of my ward undiluted by party politics. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Matze Pienaar. To your right, Kabetso Malebo, independent candidate for Ward 22. That covers Pimville in Soweto, that people know a lot about. I was interested talking about young people. In that ward, I saw that the average age is 27 years old, which is incredibly young. And I wonder if anybody is offering the right solutions for young people in your area. In 3 minutes, what can you offer that the big parties don't? Why should we get your vote?
Hi, Francis. Hi to the viewers, the audience, and the panel. I believe that we as people, we need to focus on basic needs of people. The current ruling structure, or the current ruling government, has forgotten about the importance of basic needs and basic services for people. So what I'm promising is that I'm promising basic needs to people. We need to make sure that everything is fully functional. I believe that our lives cannot be dependent on political structures any further than it is. I believe that we need to make sure that we redevelop our community. As you know, that Pimville was one of the communities that actually said no to looting, and I was in the forefront of that. And I'm a young leader that is advocating for change, and with that being said, that's the kind of change that we are advocating for in society. Our electricity issue is a very big issue within society, and I want to make sure that I push accelerated service delivery for our people. We need to make sure that every development within our community is fully functional. We need to make sure that all the schools within our community, because we have I think about plus minus 15 schools within our community, we need to make sure that we rebuild and integrate that with sports as well, because that is going to be the element that caps crime within our communities, because within our communities we find ourselves being a gang-infested community, and crime is on the rise because of poor service delivery. Our police station, which is Kliptown Police Station, is currently running on one van, which is actually not right for our people. So when I talk about service delivery, I'm talking about pushing those kind of things and making sure that everybody knows about that in the community, because their safety is at risk. Another thing is that my other passion point is that I want to make sure that the clinic within our ward, which is Michael Maponya Clinic, is a 24-hour clinic, because we are an overpopulated community in Pimville. There's a new development. It's not that new, but it's new because of it's got flats as well. So instead of helping our people with creating sports and recreation that's going to help to cap crime, create maintenance programs, make sure that everything is green within our community, because if everything is green, we know that opportunities are going to arise, because opportunities arise in a clean place. So if we make sure as a community that we make sure that our community is clean. And another thing is that I want to make sure that I rebuild unity within our community, because for the longest time, unity is something that does not stand within our community. So that's what I'm bringing within the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, next final councillor candidate, Kenny Nimak, a party candidate for the United Independent Movement, contesting Ward 31, including Boksburg in Ekurhuleni. He is a former soccer star, Kaizer Chiefs and Mamelodi Sundowns striker, entering the world of politics. You've done a lot of things before: TV presenter, football commentator and coach. And the United Independent Movement is saying that it wants to partake in the change that also hasn't come for a very long time. In 3 minutes, what can you offer that the big parties can't?
Thank you very much, Francis, and thank you to the panel. I'm delighted to be here because as we sit here, this is democracy. The discussion and everything about it is really touching my heart to an extent that we know now that change is imminent. We, as the United Independent Movement, are a neoconservative party. We're a party that's led by Neil de Beer, a man who has strong values. We err on the side of being conservative from a position of loyalty, from a position of Ubuntu. We feel as if the opposition hasn't been opposition enough. So we come now to stand and say, let us be the conscience of our leaders. Let us together, with all unity, stand up against the wrong that we've seen over the last 27 years. We believe in unity, but more than this, we believe in real reconciliation for all South Africans. We believe as a nation, we came through the gates We felt as if we won the war, but what we forgot, we needed to continue to stick together and to work together so that our new dispensation is for all South Africans. So this is where we are at the moment. We find ourselves in a position where everything has fallen to pieces. They say, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Well, I want good news for you. This thing is broken. And I'm happy that people have come out today to voice their opinion and to say we are willing to do something differently. And for me, that makes my day. So today, the UIM, United Independent Movement, is the movement to follow, because we will go and make sure we are going to be their conscience. We are going to be the people that are going to make the change. We are going to force government to change some issues and no longer to be out of touch with the people on the ground. So we stand, and I stand as a party member, willing now to be the person who communicates with our communities to ensure some policies are dealt with and they are done and they're meted out as they're supposed to be meted out. Thank you.
Kenny, thank you very much. And thank you to all of you. I wish there was a huge audience here to clap and say thank you for really sharing with us what you can give. And what stands out to me is that so many of you are saying you're apolitical. So you want to enter the political fray, but it's because the politicians have failed. And looking at grassroots communities, saying let's take the power back. All right, we'll take a short break. We'll come back and we'll see if we can ask these independent small party candidates, 12 in all, something else. We'll maybe also throw a question to some of your supporters that are here with you, very few because of we're trying to keep it very safe tonight, but we'd appreciate you staying with us, and we'll be back from the M1 studio at the SABC.